Welcome back to part 3 of learning Blender, and in this video I'm going to show you how to put materials to the product. In the last video I've shown you how to model a perfume. In this video we'll be putting materials to the same perfume bottle. I'll show you how the metal can look metallic, the glass can look glossy, or the liquid can look translucent and things like that. And once we are done with that, I'll also show you how to do the lighting setup. We'll render out the first image of the product. So let's start without any further ado. So this is the product that we made in the last video. So what I'm gonna do is select this cap and we'll go in the material section over here, solid viewport. This is the wireframe. These both are used for modeling the product because rendering materials, it's a bit heavy, so especially for low-end PCs. So you'll go in the material section later on when you're adding materials to the product. So this is the cap that we have. So first, go at the bottom. This is the material section. Click on it, add new material. You can name the material if you want. I'm gonna add this as cap because it'll be easier for you to figure out which material has been applied over here in the list. So basically if you're applying the same material anywhere else, so you would easily locate it in this section. So moving on, let's put the color. So this is the base color, which is white at the moment. So I'm gonna do this slightly golden, and we'll go through quickly with each and every setting. I'm not gonna discuss like the details of it because you will learn it. You don't really need to know all the basic stuff. So once we put the color on the cap, and then it looks kind of like a rubber, but we need to make it look metallic. How can we do that? Increase the metallic value over here. I'm gonna increase it up until here, and then I also need roughness because this has already like a lot of roughness over here that the reflections are not bouncing back. For example, the cup over here, this is sort of like having low roughness. That's why the light is bouncing back. You can see it on the cup, but if you have like a lot of roughness in a material like iron rod or something like that, the light is not gonna bounce back. So what I can do is reduce the roughness slightly. I think this one would be enough. Okay, this is done. So I would also show you how to add the texture, but I'll do that later on. First we'll go over here and we'll make this as a glass. How we can do that? Let's add the same new material by selecting the object. Once we add the material, I'm gonna name it just to keep things organized, and then we'll lower down the roughness because the glass doesn't have any roughness, or maybe it does. We'll add it later on if we need. And then this IOR setting, it's basically for glass. I'm gonna show you the amount that will be required to make it look glossy. 1.333. You can use this and you will see the difference. Basically not now, but when you will actually see the glass applied, you can change the numbers and you'll see the difference in the glass itself. Moving on, we'll change the transmission over here. I'm gonna increase it to max. So once we increase the transmission, now it looks like this, but we need glass, so we are able to see through the glass, and we should also see the liquid in the glass. So how we can do that? It is basically glass. It's not just showing up because it's in the material view. If you go to the render view, everything will be dark because there's no light, because this is the final version where we'll be putting lights and everything. So this is the render view over here, and in order to look at the glass, I do need to come over here in this section, which is the render section. Click on it. So Blender has two engines, EV and cycles. EV is a real-time engine where you can sort of like model or make changes to the model quickly without having to face any like such heavy render time. But if you go to cycles, which deals with a lot of realistic graphics, it is really good. It makes the product look realistic. Even the glass, it makes it look realistic. You can see through the glass over here. So that's what cycles does. So usually I render most of the things on cycles. EV is a excellent render option that you can enable to see the final product, the glimpse of final product. But if you really want to add all the details, the ray tracing and everything, so you can enable even ray tracing in Eevee, which gives you more graphic improvement, which I will discuss later on. But again, we are learning about materials in this video, so we'll go back to cycles, which gives more realistic results. It's gonna render a little bit. So what you can do is, instead of having to deal with the CPU rendering, you can go ahead and change it to GPU. Now it's a bit faster because it's using my NVIDIA graphics card. So if you have a graphics card which is powerful enough, then you can go ahead and select this option. I'll also click on denoising, meaning that I can I won't see the extra noise which was adding up. I will still see a little bit, but it won't be that much. And now we have the glass, but we need the liquid inside. So what I'm gonna do for that, click on the glass, click tab, and let's click this one, X-ray view, so I can see through the glass and select something inside. I'm gonna select this layer, Control ++++. I think this is enough. I'm gonna Shift D, duplicate it. Now I have another material. I'm gonna separate this by clicking P, select. I've separated this material over here. Now tab to get back and select this material alone. I'm gonna scale it down slightly. I think this one should do it. Okay, now let's go back over here on the axis view and look on the side. This is not properly aligned, so I'm gonna align this one. Let's do it this way and then bring it up slightly and then scale it. Well, let's bring the origin point to center so we can scale it in the center over here. So this will be our liquid. Let's see if it is properly aligned. It is properly aligned right now, but I need this to be a bit small. Usually the liquid in the glass is not full, right? So this is what we got. Another thing, I want to make sure that it has some sort of a liquid on top as well. This might be empty, so just I'm filling this out by clicking F. And once I click that, I'm gonna also make sure I bevel it a little bit. Wait a minute. Okay, click F, bevel it a little bit, add some loops. Okay, so we have some material on top as well, some mesh on top. So basically it is the liquid. Now I'm quickly gonna go to materials again. So what I'm gonna do is remove the glass from this material, because this is a copied version of the inside glass. The material is also applied on this one. So click on minus, click on new material, and then let's say we'll add some golden liquid, sort of like a perfume liquid, and then I'll reduce the roughness. We'll make this a liquid again by increasing the transmission. I'm not going to increase it completely. I'll slightly leave it as it is over here, because this will give a different kind of thickness. It will show that the liquid inside is a bit thick, to show that it's different from the glass outside. Okay, so now that part is done. Let's align this again. Now I'm gonna scale this. So we have a decent liquid inside, and I think this looks good. This looks realistic. The last part I'm gonna do is put some color over here as well. So let's lift the cap, see what's going on over here. This is plain white. What I'll do is first go to the material view, click on this one, add new material, and let's add like a black material. I think this would be enough, and add some roughness, some metallic. Yeah, this would do it. I'll apply the same thing. So material 002, so let's select this one, material 002, and that's it. So this part is done. One thing is still missing, if you guys notice. So click on Shift A, curves, and I'm gonna select path. Then I'm gonna rotate it this way. I'm gonna scale it down so that it is over here, and let's bring it top. Okay, now I'll click tab, and now I can easily select the shape of our straw. But the problem is it is just a line, it's a path, it's not going to show up in the render view. So how I can do that? So while we have the path, click on data over here, click on geometry, and on the geometry there's the depth. So depth can be increased slightly until we see the straw. So I think this would normally be the size of a straw. Okay, so we are done with this. Now I'm gonna click W, convert it to mesh. Now it is a mesh, and as you can see, this is basically the straw. And how I like separately saw this in a different face, if you click on your keyboard, the slash key is gonna bring the object in a different viewport. So you can work on this object and then click on slash to get back again. So this is done. Let's quickly apply material on this one as well. I'll probably add it like a black. Let's go on the material view, render view, black, roughness is this much. Okay, I think this should do it. Perfect, this is done. Now I'm gonna bring back the cap over here. Now one more thing that I need to do before doing everything, I'll put a plane, bring it in the center, bring it at the bottom over here, and then I'm gonna scale it. Okay, because we need some sort of a light over here to work in the render view. I usually don't do that, but I was waiting for to show you guys how the lighting setup will be. So go on the edit mode on the plane mesh, click on number 2, select the edge, extrude it on top. That's done. And then I'm gonna select this edge, I'll control bevel it, add some loops. Now go back, shade smooth, and I can scale it a little bit. Okay, this is done. Now we'll add some lighting. So shift A, over here at the bottom there's lights. I'm gonna add the area light. There are 4 sorts of lights. So sunlight, area light, and I'm gonna go with the area light for this time. Okay, we'll have this light, but it's not that bright enough. So how you can change that, I'll show you that one as well. First we'll point this over here. So the yellow dot over here, this is how you can rotate it, but this is not the best way. What I usually do is just click on rotate and then rotate it if needed. Now I need some light, so let's bring it on the bottom over here. So let's increase the light. So if you select anywhere else, you won't see any light option over here, but if you select light, there's a light bulb. Click on it, and then you can rather increase this value gradually, and it will give you the brightness. But in the Blender 4.5.1, there's another option where you can quickly drag this one to increase a lot of brightness. Now one thing that I noticed, that this glass is like very transparent, like it is too transparent to be a glass. So I'm gonna increase the roughness for this glass to make it look realistic. How you can do that, go back to material again, select this one and increase the roughness slightly. I'll increase it up to a point where it looks realistic. Also, one more thing that we can do is select this one, and I'm going to lower down the glass color. I think this, yeah. Now it looks like a perfume. What else we can do over here is add some texture to this cap. Now how you can add texture to material, you have the values for metallic, roughness and stuff like that. But in order to add some texture, you would go to the shading over here. This is slightly complicated. I mean, you can just watch it and learn it in time. For now, once you click on the cap, and then there's principal BSDF for this color. What I'm gonna do is shift A, search. I can bring a bump node. It will look like the texture is being bumped up, but it will be on the flat surface. Bump node, I'm gonna connect it to normal, and let's add some noise texture. There are a lot of textures. So this is the noise texture. I'm gonna plug this in to the height. Now do you see any change? I don't, because I need to increase the value over here in the scale. Once I start increasing it, now you can see that something's happening. There is texture being added, so I'll crank up the values a bit more. Let's say I've maxed out. Okay, now there's a texture to the cap, but it's not looking realistic. Why? Because the bump is too high. It looks like a very different texture, not realistic, to be honest. So strength, I'm gonna lower it down, let's say to this much, and there you go. So why we need it? Because we are unable to see the texture even in the animation video. Let's say you're doing a close-up shot of a product, you need to showcase the texture of a product, or it won't look that realistic. So that is the reason why we make sure that we have right textures which make the product look realistic. Now this is done. I think we're almost done with everything. Now I'm going to show you how you can do a proper light setup. So go at the bottom over here, select this light. I'm going to scale this up because I need a soft shadow over here. As you can see, the shadow is more than enough. I'm going to Shift G duplicate it, and I'm gonna point this in this direction, and then Shift D duplicate it exactly over here, and I'm gonna point this in this direction. Okay, lastly I'm gonna Shift D duplicate it, and I'm gonna point this in this direction. I think that's enough. Okay, so with this one, what we can do is move it over here at the back. Before we change anything, I'm gonna select all the lights, and this is a cool trick that you guys can do as well. You don't want to focus each light at once on the product. It is a bit complicated, right? So rather select everything, Shift T. Now it's gonna focus on your cursor, so you place the cursor on the product, so all the lights are focusing on your product now. That was easy, right? So now we'll also change the shape of the light because it is square, and when you render it, if your product, let's say it's not transparent and it has like a different texture on it, then it's gonna show up where the light is coming from. Basically it will show up like a box. If the light is too sharp, then that's gonna ruin the product image. So you don't need that. In order to avoid it, what you can do is just put it to disk, click on this one, select on the light section, go to shapes, put it to disk, do the same thing with this one, put it to disk, and this one as well, put it to disk. That's it. Now that part is done. I'm gonna reduce it over here. Okay, oh, guess yeah, this would be enough. Okay, so now I'm gonna manage the power of each light because I've made all the lights too powerful over here. So let's say this light should be more because this is the main light, but this light can be slightly less. Okay, now this light on the side, we will increase it. As you can see, I think this looks good, and this one we can lower it down. All right, and what I also like to do is, because all the lights are set up now, we have set the value as well. We'll apply some material over here. Let's set the material in a same fashion, but not exactly the same color. I'll put it as light as I can, but we'll apply some metallic over here as well to make it look dark, and then we can reduce the roughness to a point where the reflections are slightly showing up. Now it gives a good image of your product because the reflections are fading out slightly, if you can see, and that is cool. Now we also need to rotate this background by clicking R, Z. I'm gonna rotate it this way so I can take the photo of the product from here and there will be a background in the back. Let's rotate it a bit more and I'm gonna scale it as well. Okay, go to this section, world settings. Once you click on it, there's a default value set in over here where there's 1000% brightness by default, but I don't need that because I have my own lighting setup and that's good. So I'm gonna bring it to 0 so everything's dark now except my product. So the next thing I'm gonna do is click over here, place my 3D cursor on the object and shift A, and I'm gonna place an empty. What empty can I place? I'm gonna place a spear. Okay, and let's move it slightly back. Okay, so why I'm setting the spear over here, I'm gonna show you. Let's leave the spear for now. Let's put the 3D cursor over here, shift A, bring the camera, G, Z. There's this tab that I can extend or leave it over here, but if I do a right click, there's a split option. I'm gonna split the screen. Why I'm splitting the screen? Because I want to set my camera in one frame, but I do want to look at the object in the other frame and do the settings for lightings and stuff like that. So here I'm gonna click on the camera, and then if you click on this one, toggle camera view, it's gonna select the camera view now. And if you scroll up, you can set the camera angle to this much, and I think this will be enough. And if you click on N will open up these settings over here, N, and then click on view and then go to camera to view. What it does is basically now you can move your camera, and if I zoom in, it's gonna zoom in the object rather than if I uncheck this. If I zoom in, it's just gonna zoom in the scene, but the camera will stay at its place. If I click on camera view, I can set my camera. As you can see, the camera is moving over here. So how I need the object to be, I think the picture in this angle will look cool, and for some reason I'm seeing some sort of a darkness over here, meaning that we need to crank up some value of exposure for this one to make it look bright. That's it. So go back to the camera, and now the reason why we have set up a spear over here, an empty spear, is if you click on this, the layer of the camera, the edge of the camera, if you click on this, there's a camera setting. Once I click it, there's a camera setting showing up over here. This is the setting where you can set up the focal length, and do you need it to be in an orthographic view, or do you need it to be in a panographic view? You can change the view over here, or let's put it to this much, 47 mm, and I'm gonna set up the depth of field. What it is basically when you take a picture from a DSLR, it's gonna blur out the background, or sometimes the front side is blurred out and the background is focused. It's gonna set that depth of field. So depth of field over here, I'm gonna click on this object empty, and I'm gonna select this empty over here. So now what's happening is anything around that empty is being focused, and the rest of the things in the background and in the front is being blurred out. That's exactly what I want. And how to increase or decrease the value of the amount that needs to be blurred out. Let me remove this section by clicking M. So if I reduce the f-stops, it's gonna make the background even more blurred. And if I increase the f-stops, basically you'll see more of a background and the front ground as well, but I need the f-stop to be as low as possible. Let's put it to 2.3 or even less. Okay, 1.1. This is good because if you look at it, let me show you. So if you look at it, the background over here is completely blurred out and it looks good. That's exactly what we need. Now everything's set. Now I'm gonna take the image of the product and save it. Before I do that, I need to quickly go through the render settings because I want to make sure that the product that I'm saving is properly in a right resolution and all the render settings are perfectly correct. Firstly, it has to be in the cycles, which is already in the cycles, and then the noise threshold is 0.1, which is what I prefer by default, and the noise threshold over here is 0.0100. This would give you a clear image, HD image, which has a lot of details and everything, but I think for me 0.1000 is enough. It's a decent image. It doesn't lose much of a quality over there. The samples that I need is 512. I think 4000 would be more than enough. Samples over here 512. These are my settings, and you can copy these or you can use the default one. I'm done with the render settings. I will go to the output setting. Basically, you want to make sure how the image is going out of the blender, like the resolution of the image. You can put the desired resolution. Based on resolution, your camera angle might also change. You can put an Instagram size. You can search it on Google, you'll find different sizes. I think the default one suits me the best, so for this image I'm gonna leave it as it is. Frames, I'm not gonna touch it because this is for animation. Frame range, I'm not gonna touch this one as well. And the output file, this is where the location where the image is being saved. So make sure you update this location. If you have a different desired location for this one, I'm gonna leave it for default because that's where I like to save my images. And file format, PNG, everything is a default setting, so I'm not gonna touch anything over here. And that's it. If I click on render, and when I click on render image, before I do so, I'm just gonna give you a heads up that even if I do render over here, there's a window which will pop up. It will render out the image, and then there will be a lot of noise which will slowly get cleared. And once all the samples are done, which should be on the top side, once the samples are done, your image is ready and saved in the desired location where you're saving it. For me, it's over here. So the reason why I'm explaining you this, because if I click on render, it's not going to show up that window. For some reason, my screen sharing thingy, it's not showing up the extra windows that I pull up. So anyways, the last step is to go on the render image. And there you go, my image is all set. I'm gonna show you the image as well. I'll try to include it in this video by saving it. Okay. All right, so that was everything that I need to show you in this video. So what we have covered is how to use the materials, how to add new materials, and one small thing that I need to also mention over here, that let's say for example that I need to put material on top over here, like on top, the upside of this cap, I need it to be black for some reason. But it is the same part of the mesh. So how would you do it? I'm gonna show you. So if I go back to materials over here, and then if I click on this plus icon, let's say I've selected this one on top. You can just select the whole thing. You know how to do it, right? So click on new, and then while selecting this, click on assign. And once you assign it, it's gonna by default select the white one, but I don't need the white one. So what I need is, let's say I want to do this black material, and that black material has some metallic value as well and has slight amount of roughness. Okay, so if you see that part of the selection, the material has been applied, but the material has also been applied at the bottom. What is the reason? The reason is there's a subdivision modifier applied on this cap. That's why the things are stretching up at the bottom as well. So in order to avoid it, what you can do is apply loop cut, drag it on top, and you can bring that thing on top. Okay, So this is how you can just select the area where you need to put a different material. This was important, thankfully I covered it. Make sure you like this video and leave a comment down below. Let me know if I missed something so that I can cover that in the next video. And thank you for watching. Take care.